Just a disclaimer that my experience is will be different to yours, and everything else about you would, there's no two people alike. But in saying that, you probably be able to, pick up bits and pieces where you can relate to. But human trafficking does exist. So I've basically just shared and did a bit of research according to the legislation of what actually human trafficking is. And I'm just basically using my experience to explain it, what human trafficking is. For some, you'll probably never ever have to worry about human trafficking, but just a reminder that human trafficking can happen to anybody, and it doesn't matter how much money you have in your bank account. It doesn't matter how prominent you are in your occupation. It can happen to anybody. Most victims, have been caught by surprise and haven't not known what to do once your privacy is gone. And the only disadvantage that most victims have is that they haven't known what human trafficking is, or they haven't known the signs, or they haven't known, as far as the law is concerned, how to, get support or protect themselves. So, so that is the downfall of human trafficking, but it does exist. Hi everyone, welcome back to my channel, Authentic Ingenuity Entrepreneur. Today, this episode we will be talking about the project. So I will be interpreting in my own words what I mean by the project. You've heard me mention it several times. So this video episode is basically will be focusing on issues and facts surrounding the project in relation to my court case. So the project involves the individual being human trafficked by force, and then they're actually dehumanized and being deprived of human qualities and rights. First, the privacy breaches must take place to enable another human to invade your personal space and eventually your territory. The historical evidence in my profile will reveal a consistency of fraud, error, deletion, and information left out or tampered with. It will reveal that the evidence on the surface will not be in one accord with the individual's character, personality, background status, work ethics, or quality information that lacks a consistency of credibility and substantial evidence that is real, actual, and true. However, in most cases, after the fact evidence is not easy to establish and a psychoanalysis theory immediately, because every case or individual set of circumstance, culture, race, background is different. Although in serial psychopath cases, the methods used are the same, just different people used each time. For those who've been watching my case since 2016 on Facebook, will have the advantage over those who are new and on board on my YouTube channel. The reason for this is because the information that were put on display on my Facebook page during 2016 to 2018, portion by portion, or documents differentiating several specifics of my case, and during that time, everything on the surface seemed confusing or it didn't make sense. Whereas my YouTube channel, I am now basically explaining my profile and court case in each episode. So you'd need to view the first episode right to this episode to get an understanding of the case. Because of the privacy laws, I have not disclosed the name of the parties and the individuals involved in my case. But if you've been watching Facebook since 2016 to 2018, then you have the advantage to those names because they were disclosed during that period of time when I was going on social media on Facebook. What is human trafficking by force? Human trafficking involves trafficking of a human for a pecuniary advantage, and it involves the following. 1. Secret public exploitation of the individual. 2. The individual is incarcerated set of circumstances. The individual is then coerced by force and is subject to intimidating and is dominated by a force by their trafficker or traffickers. When I say traffickers, I mean there could be two or more, which is usually the case historically. Number 4, servitude is adhered, and the individual is subject to slavery or personal subjection to the trafficker's schemes, plans that can lead to negative or a positive plot. Number 5, forced labor of some sort takes place without the consent of the individual, and in most cases without knowledge. They're unaware that it's actually happening to them, or it's actually happening to someone within their personal space. I can confirm from personal experience the project is an illegal scientific experiment on humans without their knowledge or consent. The purpose is to study their personality, the mind, the thoughts, their likes and their dislikes, their past and present background, their upbringing and education, culture, beliefs, and their intentions and motives of the individual to get an understanding of how they think. This also includes your immediate family and friends. So the individual that's actually targeted, it is very likely that everyone close to you is subject to the same scam or set of circumstance that is controlled. This is a reason for privacy invasion. Once an investigation takes place. To put it bluntly, they basically dissect the individual inside out. Hence, this explains the fraudulent medical records and other areas in the individual's personal profile historically. This information is then used for premeditated or organized purposes. The project involves a buddy system with two-party systems linked to the third party, so forth. This allows the key predators to always cover their tracks and allowing time to delete or lure evidence away or worse. So what I mean by that, a buddy system, so after they've gotten all your personal information, they're right in your personal space. So you have these two, you have a substitute following you, whether they're there for a good or for not a good reason. But that explains the sabotaging and all the negative things that goes on when you're subject to a scam like I have been. So that's what I mean by the buddy system. The reason for this is basically they're studying you through another person. But the unfortunate thing is when it's been going on for so long, whoever is behind the initiating, that's the dangerous thing about it, is you don't know who it is. Some victims, I'd say they do know after a long period of time, but in most cases you don't know who it is, who is actually the key initiator, or who is actually behind what's going on with the actual individual long term. Yeah, so that's what I mean by the buddy system. So that's what's been happening to me since I lost my privacy, and it And unfortunately, that's what took place within the workplace when it first started happening. The intent and motives to act to deceive, or the state of being deceived to create an illusion on the surface to cover up or create a fraudulent crime scene, is most likely feasible. Yeah, so that's what actually is happening when an individual is subject to a scam, and then, like I just mentioned about the buddy system, it's actually cloning is what they do eventually once they pretty confident they know everything about you. The danger about it is that even those in your immediate family and friends are cloned too. So there's a risk of endangering everybody, because anything can happen. You're not in control whatsoever within your circumstance. So once a mission is in motion, for example, what I mean by that, if you're targeted and you know that your privacy is completely gone, and then you start going through a downhill spiral of negative setbacks, you're actually under personal attack. I've known that, and I just couldn't do anything about it, but just staying in control with what I could be in control within my personal space, and what I could take control of. There were so many things I couldn't, and I had to make decisions within the moment of what was my best option for my safety and for the safety of others. So that's the other thing that I found, is that once whoever holds your personal details, they can resurrect their plans again later on, and just using different people each time. So in most cases, some people end up homeless or worse. And a common sense, if the perpetrator is, has gained something, have broken so many laws and have gained, whether it be finance or whatever it is that they've used you for, they want to make sure that the victims aren't able to fight back or make them accountable for what they've done. So usually they financially ruin them and ruin their reputation, and it's all part of the game to them, because they want to make sure that you're no longer a threat to them in the future. So that's why it's really important to think outside the box, and if all possible, don't go it alone, because it's very, 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 very dangerous to go alone. If you know that you've been subject to something suspicious, and you have no control of your circumstance. So this episode, I've just basically given you a little bit of a background and of what I interpret as what is human trafficking, from my own experience and according to the laws. So I hope you've enjoyed this episode. This one here is basically just me talking about the project, or just talking about the basics of what is human trafficking in my own words. There are different types of reasons why people is being human trafficked, but in saying that, it can happen to anyone, whether you're rich, famous, poor, it can happen to you. Some people go through it and they're right in the middle of it, but they don't know what's ahead of them because they don't even know that they're being human trafficked. When I say human traffic, somebody else is controlling their finances, or controlling their circumstances, sabotaging everything. But it does make a difference if you do have a little bit of understanding what human trafficking is, because what you want to do is thinking outside the box and thinking ahead of what you can do to protect yourself. So I hope that this clip has been informative to help you understand a little bit more what human trafficking is. When you've been right in it, like even the people within your space that are being used, even they, whether they're for the opposition or just, people just being near it just at the right time or wrong time, or they are actually being used by the trafficker, to help out with a stage set of circumstance. So, but these are kind of things that, that really does help if, just in case, these things do happen, but they do happen in the real world. And in fact, that's even worse today than ever before because of the technology, and all they need to do is do everything in advance and just text. That's all they have to do, text and drive their cars and have people in your personal space and you wouldn't even know. And the other thing that I have found, the other danger of human trafficking is I have found many times I could have easily, if I hadn't have made the right decision at the right time, I could have easily fallen right into their traps. And the other thing I have found is that they lie. They do lie in your, when you're subject to something out of your control. They, give you wrong information. They try to mislead you, or so when people do that, you just don't know what to do. So just keep watching my channel and my Facebook page, and hopefully you can get a lot of good tips out of what is human trafficking. And I will see you in my next clip. Thanks. Bye.